and welcome back to another edition of Money in Motion. Today is Wednesday, September 6th, 2023. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video and channel today. Great way to support the channel if you appreciate the content we provide each day. But market's pulling back quite a bit, starting to look like that lower high is forming within the equity markets. DXY continues to rip higher with Bitcoin somewhat flat to unchanged. So Monte, anything you looking at to start the morning that you'd like to jump into, or just any opening thoughts?
Yeah, I want to kind of harp back on what we were talking about a little bit yesterday, and that's just comparing the NASDAQ with ES and seeing how they perform relative to one another. I think that's going to be a very important factor for determining whether or not we're risk on or risk off. Like you said, market's pulling back hard. That being said, we have the NASDAQ down 0.8%, while the Qs are only down 0.5%. That being said, this chart does look pretty ugly. However, there is support that's not too far away at 44.58. The NASDAQ, however, not really a whole lot of support. People are talking about this level, but even here, like, this wasn't a wick of distribution. This was straight up sell pressure at this level. So I almost wouldn't count this as a level of support or resistance or give it any criticality, even though it did kind of, halt the breakup here. If anything, this would lend a lot more credence than that. So I'll pull back to 15, 250 seems like that's what's in the cards for the NASDAQ. And then, of course, if we look at some of the big names within the basket, NVIDIA down almost 3% today, looking like some major sell pressure coming in after what had been a really nice run. Let's zoom out a bit. I want to take a look at the daily perspective for this one because, this has been, one of the best performing stocks of the year on the back of the AI wave, but it is beginning to pull back. And, in the grand scheme of things, I think CJ's right. This is really starting to look like that 12 point on the Livermore accumulation cycle. And, people will say what they want about, human psychology and about markets and about all that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change. Human psychology doesn't change. The way we trade does not change. Let me find a bigger picture. And I think that, okay, whatever. I think that we're, bound to kind of repeat this formation here. If this very much is reminding me of the 12 point for the NASDAQ. And whenever you get that 12 point, like this kind of lower high here, a failure to reach the highs, then you're likely going to get some continuation, at least to, these lows here. But typically, like the Livermore accumulation cycle points out, that typically continues beyond, 12, 13, 14 into 15. And then eventually the cycle repeats. So that's kind of, where we're at. If you look at this and then you take a look at the NASDAQ or, ES, there's a lot of similarities between the two. And that's concerning if you are long-term bullish. That being said, if you're a bear, there's some opportunities to be had, and we can talk about those in a minute. But CJ, I want to get your thoughts on the market overall and kind of what you're thinking today as we start.
Yeah, it's tough. Like what we've said kind of earlier this week and last week, is like there's not a lot of conviction in terms of like edge and positioning. I think the thing that COT would suggest in terms of like equities is that there's just not a lot of buyers here. And, with AI and everything, it's just, I don't know if there's a new catalyst coming. Plus you also have like energy going much higher, which is interesting. Like oil has been a really good story this week. It was funny. Everybody was like, there's no way it can go straight to 90. No, I shouldn't say everybody, but there's a lot of people who are kind of in that camp. And here enough, we are at, 87 here today. So we'll see if energy keeps continuing to uptrend, but that certainly does seem to be putting some pressure on equities as well. But I do want to just talk a little bit about Bitcoin and go through this longer term analysis and then maybe finish up with some future setups.
Are we going to be seeing any look into Bitcoin charts today?
Not today,
Okay.
but definitely a similar metric
Oh,
in terms of
I see what we got.
just like what we kind of see in cycles. This was one that was originally taken. I don't think it was a big look into the Bitcoin chart. I think it was from Glassnode originally, but it was like a risk metric. Ben Cohen uses it as well. He created like a better one. It combines a lot of different features. But this one is mainly just about like moving averages, marks. It doesn't really take any on-chain data into account. But in each pre-halving year, where it's either 2019 or in our case 2013, it's just not really been that great of a year. We typically end up where we started, with a little bit of oscillations in between. But typically we've come down and entered this accumulation territory or this risk off level twice, in a pre-halving year. And I don't have this on this particular chart, but even if we went back to 2011, and every halving, we've always gone down to this level 2 times, in the pre-halving year, be it 2015, 2019, and then our current year. So, I think that we're in a period of time, and I said it yesterday, but it's really worth reiterating. It's like we're just in a time-based capitulation cycle. One thing that I do think is quite notable is that like social metrics are really starting to drop off. Like the participation in Bitcoin is really, really low. And price is just not really doing anything. I don't know. It's just not a whole great time to be in the market with not a lot of conviction. Like I do hold some crypto assets, like, as a long-term portfolio, but as like short-term trades or what I'm seeing here, in the month of September. God, I'm going on for a while now, but like everyone said, look at all the months of September we've gotten in Bitcoin. The past 4 of them have been horrendous. Will this one be any different? In many of those cases, though, you look at the August before was actually really bullish. So it's kind of just like a flip between those 2 months. And you see that in the S&P 2 going back historically. So it's just like not a lot of conviction, weak price action, not a lot of equity buyers up here,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to do less stuff definitely right now.
I think, yeah, in this case, less is more, most definitely. And you made the point that like Bitcoin and crypto in general can go through periods where we don't see any buy pressure coming in. We talked about this yesterday, right? How it kind of feels. We talk about this all the time, how it kind of feels like it's the same like couple thousand people trading against each other. It's like a PvP zone of crypto degens just all trading against each other and taking each other's capital and then giving it back to one another. But I think the best example of the fact that there's just a genuine lack of buyers in the space right now is the fact that Solana basically did nothing on the back of that Visa news. Regardless, we talked about this yesterday, CJ. Like, we didn't talk about it during the show. This is something that CJ and I were talking about like last night. But like, I don't care if like Visa's, it doesn't matter what they're using the blockchain for. I don't care if they're using it to tell when their employees go to the bathroom. It doesn't matter. What matters is that Visa, one of the largest payment processors in the world, partnered with Solana. And usually that is something that moves the needle. New buyers come in, that excites them. They think, oh, this is big news, and they buy it. I bought on the premise that people will come in, see this news, interpret it as bullish, and pump Solana up. So I've talked about it in Discord. I bought some spot Solana, and right now I'm a little bit negative on that position because we've pulled back today a bit. You can see it hasn't hit my stop loss, which is the red line there. Although we are kind of approaching it, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets hit and triggered today. But usually, like that sort of news, partnering with Visa, that would move the needle massively. This time around, it's not moving the needle at all. And I think that tells you everything you need to know about where we're at in this market cycle and who's left participating. There's not enough participants. There's not enough new capital flowing in. And therefore, even with massively positive news catalysts, price isn't pumping. The only way things can really go with any degree of velocity is down because there's no buyers, only sellers. That's how it feels right now. What? What? Is there a funny comment?
No, that was just the way that was just really depressing.
Sorry, didn't mean to be depressing this early in the morning. I'm just trying to keep it real. Just trying to, keep it a buck with you guys. And I mean, hey, you pull out the weekly chart and you showed consolidation for months. Okay, if anything's depressing, that's depressing. I was just following up on that fact. So,
and that goes for another point. It's like the alts probably. I don't know if there's really a trade to be taken in the alts until you get like some real
100%.
enthusiastic Bitcoin price action. And to your point about the announcement, like, yeah, I don't want to harp too much on this, but the actual like significance of the announcement in the short term, I mean, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a pilot program, whether it's anything, really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that the news piece was printed, it garnered attention, and what else the market wants to react to that, that's all that matters. I mean, let's not forget this is crypto. Like the market can be, I shouldn't call the market stupid, but let me reiterate what I mean through an example. Like 2015, 2016 Dogecoin pumped because they were sponsoring the Jamaican bobsled team in the Olympics. Like, is there any material long-term, even an ETF, right? Like an ETF, well, I guess there is the argument for like pension flows and stuff to come in, but mostly anybody who wants to buy Bitcoin in the United States or developed country can, if you're a wealthy individual. But obviously ETF, yeah, you might have more pension flows and stuff.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I totally agree with that premise that if everyone that wants exposure to Bitcoin can get it. I don't think that that's true even here in the United States. I think like if you get above the age, like if let's say I told my mom, I need you to buy me $200 worth of Bitcoin. I don't think she'd know.
Monte's banking on the 16-year-olds of next cycle for exit liquidity.
No, 100%. That's how every cycle's been, and that's how markets work. Like I don't think my mom would know how to buy Bitcoin. Like I guess she could download Coinbase and do it that way. So you're right. Like there is a certain like ease of accessibility when it comes to getting on ramps as a US citizen. But like if you're a big fund or you're an institution, you're not going to be buying on Coinbase. Like you don't want to be buying spot.
Well, yeah, you buy the equities.
Exactly. You buy the equities. Yeah. So I think like a spot ETF would result in massive inflows of capital from that like niche group of family offices and hedge funds and whatnot. Because like what are they going to do? Buy Bitcoin, and write the seed phrase down and hope they don't lose it. Like I just don't see hedge funds or institutions doing that. And custodying their own crypto. It's just not. It just doesn't seem viable.
Yeah, I think I have a thesis based on that or a prediction, which should not mean anything, but it's something I've been thinking about and just kind of wondering. And Monte, I've brought this up to you before, but the idea that the 2024 cycle will actually be quicker and just like faster overall than any cycle we've seen previously. It gets front run. Retail kind of misses it because they're focused on, macro recession concerns, things of that sort. Meanwhile, you see institutions accumulate things like coin, all the miners, crypto equities, and then the top is ultimately when the ETF is approved. Whereas everybody rushes in, similar to how Bitcoin futures launching on the CME marked the top in 2017. So, and that could happen maybe before 2025 in like the latter half of 2024. But just like the rest of 2023, like this pre-halving year has just historically been really boring and notorious for just chopping people up and excuse me, forcing you to lose your money trading before the real moves actually happen. So what do you
Yeah.
think about that idea? Think it's
No.
viable or?
Oh, 100%. And that's a terrific point. Like we've talked about it. This is like preservation of capital time, right? It's going to be very hard to make money, but it's going to be very easy to lose it. So, and if you think about what that really means, like it's hard to keep on if it's easy to lose your money, it's hard to hold on to it, right? Because people are going to want to take shots to the downside. They're going to want to take, oh, this could be the bottom. I'm going to take a shot here. Just be patient and wait. And, once we get some genuine strength from Bitcoin, and it's going to take time, like CJ pointed out with that weekly chart. I think time is the biggest factor right now. And regardless of the catalyst between now and, let's say next calendar year, I don't see Bitcoin making that big of a move anytime soon. So, pre-halving year, don't expect it to be any different than the previous ones that we've seen in the past.
I think we don't like. I don't think we go below 20K. I think that's the absolute worst, barring a black swan event like nuclear war or whatever.
Yeah.
But
If I had to make a prediction, I would say, yeah, 20 to 15K, the contingent on the equity markets as well. If the equity markets, go like completely retrace, we could see 15K Bitcoin, but I would be a massive buyer of anything below 20K. I'd be filling up my spot bag.
I'd be
With
running to get my big brown bag with a dollar sign on it.
literally, I'd be looking
Going
like
to the
the Monopoly man.
No, what
Um,
was that from? What cartoon?
every
Looney
cartoon
Tunes.
ever,
Yeah,
every
Scrooge
cartoon
McDuck.
ever, they just have the big brown bag with the money sign on it. It's like, okay, we get it. There's money in there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
wasn't su- wasn't sure, but no, could have been laundry, but
The
no, no.
trail of bills, leaving behind as he
Yeah,
ran
all
away,
the
I
bills.
just wasn't enough.
Oh man. Well,
All
on
right,
that note, oh, you
couple
got something
more,
else?
just
Go.
three setups here before
Oh, okay.
we leave today.
Let's
But
hear it.
this has been one looking to, pick the bottom on for a while. Notable reversal yesterday in coffee, so just something to keep an eye on there if it continues to break out into new highs. Um, Nikkei is what I've been looking at. I should probably just look at shorts and ES, but Nikkei is very crowded. I've taken a look at that one. Also, you have that kind of like downward sloping trend line that a lot of people probably will try to short off of, or at least sell their longs into. What was I gonna hit? Oh, right. Cotton might be an interesting short here after, last month of really going up. Also, we've had just a lot of buying. This could have been a buying climax and a short-term peak, last Friday. So I might short that one. We'll see, but I'm not really keen to do too much this week. And then what was the last? So yeah, I mean, going back to
Gold.
the story about oil, it's just gotten like so extreme this week that I feel like everybody's talking about it. So it's just becoming just much more commonplace, like zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Like it will turn eventually, and heating oil will probably be the one, but it's just like it's taking forever, as these trends can do. but these playing these commodity boom and bust cycles is quite interesting. But yeah, just notably, out of all of the asset classes to look at COT through, energies is like the most ineffective. That's how Shapiro's data has or his results have kind of come in over the years, but doesn't mean it's not worth trading. Like the net returns are still positive. It's just not, of all the other sectors, heating or just oil and energies in general have a tendency to be a little bit more tricky. I don't know as to why that is.
Yeah, maybe some sort of seasonality aspect or something. I'm not sure why, but that is interesting.
A lot of the commodities have gotten really dislocated from their seasonality based on the last like boom and bust cycle
Yeah,
following Ukraine. So a lot of just weird stuff in those
yeah, and like
markets.
all the tropical storms in
El Nino,
Florida.
yeah.
Yeah, there's another storm um, brewing right now. So if you are down there in the Caribbean or in Florida, stay safe. And yeah, I think that is about all we got for today. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. We go live every day at 9 a.m. Central Time, and we break down the markets like we did here today. And don't forget to check out tradethechain.com. You get a 14-day free trial. You get access to the sentiment dashboard. You can see what coins are hot, what coins are not. Also, you get access to our Discord, which is a community of traders from all around the world. CJ and myself and Nick Mancini, the other analyst, share our insights with the community there. And also the community shares their insights with us, which are just as valuable. So definitely head over there and check that out. But that is all we got for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care and have